Hey, welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse. Today we're streaming live, and our topic today is the first two Cheap Trick albums. We're going to do a general discussion about it, what we like, what we don't like, rank it, rate it. You know what we do over here on Grant's Rock Warehouse. Today, my co pilot, Ryan Gavalier, look at him. Ryan's Vinyl Destination,
How
making
you
an
doing?
appearance. How are you doing? It's nice to have you here. You
Thank you.
excited about talking some Cheap Trick?
I always am.
Yes, I
Um,
hear you.
yeah, thanks for having me.
You got it. I'm glad you came on. Appreciate it. It's nice to have you on.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
first of all, let's go into a little bit of background with Cheap Trick and talk about that.
Okay.
For those who don't know, I don't know. Maybe you don't know this, but let's. Cheap Trick is an American rock band from Rockford, Illinois, formed in 1973 by guitarist Rick Nielsen, bassist Tom Peterson, lead vocalist Randy Hogan, and drummer Bunny Carlos. Randy quit. They got Robin Zander, I think, in 1975. So currently the lineup is Robin, Rick Nielsen, Tom Peterson. Rick's son Dax is playing drums. I don't know if he's an official member. Bunny Carlos is still an official member of the band, though he doesn't tour. They released their self titled debut album in 1977 and found success in Japan with the release of their second album, In Color, later that year. The band would achieve mainstream popularity in the United States in 1979 with their breakthrough album, Cheap Trick Live at Budokan. If
Mhm.
anybody remembers that, that just totally took over like FM rock radio. It was incredible. So they reached the top 10 in 1979 with Budokan's live version of I Want You to Want Me and topped the charts in 1988 with The Flame. Though Cheap Trick had a couple more hits, but The Flame kind of put them back on the map. Just to throw out some more info, Cheap Trick has performed more than 5,000 times, sold more than 20 million albums. Over the course of its career, the band has experienced several resurgences of popularity and built a dedicated cult following. Cheap Trick was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2016. So they've had a great career, and like it said, they've gone up, they've gone down. Cheap Trick's a great band, and today, Ryan and I are going to talk about Cheap Trick and In Color. There they are. Ryan, you want to start out and start talking? We can start talking about wrong graphic, kids. We can start talking about the first Cheap Trick album, 1977.
Yeah, absolutely. So first to give a little background to my history with Cheap Trick. For a long time, they were a band that I liked. I never fully dove into. I heard albums like this one and In Color and Heaven Tonight. Dream Police and Budokan, but I didn't really try much other than that. Um, but I always liked them. I've probably started listening to them when I was around 16 years old. I think the first album I heard by them was probably at Budokan. But this was one of the earliest ones I heard as well, and it's one of my favorite albums of all time. Um, this is just a solid hard rock and power pop record. It was produced by Jack Douglas, who is one of my personal favorite producers of all time, especially for his work with Aerosmith. But I think this album here is just as impressive what he did with the production.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it's big, it's raw. The guitar sound is out of this world on this album. It's just larger than life, but also really gritty and heavy at the same time. Um, just overall, sonically, it sounds great. And the thing I really love about this album is you hear the band sounding rawer than we would ever hear them sound again.
Right.
Um, and the songwriting on here is also top notch. I mean, they have top notch songwriting on a bunch of albums, but there's something special about songs on here like He's a Whore and Hello Kitties, Taxman Mr. Thief, Cry Cry, Oh Candy, Daddy Should Have Stayed in High School, um, Mandocello. You know, this just has so many killer songs on it. Um, I really don't have complaints about this album at all.
No, it's a
Um,
perfect record.
Oh, it's absolutely perfect. And I mean, in all ways, the performances, the song lineup, the sonics, the performances. I mean, god damn it, Rick Nielsen, just one of the best guitar players of his kind. You know, he just has tasty riffs and great lead guitar parts on this
Yeah.
album. Um, you know, man, it's just this is a hard one for me to talk about just because I love it so much. It's like um I will say the first few times that I listened to this were on vinyl, and I actually listened to it as side 2 first because they played a little joke with the audience on it calling side 2 side A, and then side
Yeah.
1 is side 1. And so I used to listen to it side 2 first, then side 1. And I'll say I actually kind of like the sequencing more if you play side 2 first.
I was going to say, when they first issued that out on CD, they screwed it up. They had side 2 starting first and then side 1 after that. And then when they did the remasters, they fixed that. But they
I
had
kind
totally screwed that up in the beginning.
I kind of like it that way, honestly.
Yeah, it works that way too, but Hello Kitty should start the whole record.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where either way I think it works really well because I really like having Daddy Should Have Stayed in High School on side 2. It's kind of a dark song
Hmm.
in tone and stuff. It's kind of heavy. And I feel like it's kind of cool because then Taxman, Mr. Thief is kind of dark too. And all LO Kitties in its own way is kind of dark and heavy too. So I think you kind of get some of the more fun or lighter songs on side 2, like Mandocello, which is a really beautiful song. Um, He's a Whore, which sounds about 25 years ahead of its time. It sounds like stuff that bands like the Foo Fighters was doing in the 90s. It's just really awesome stuff there. Speak Now, Forever Hold Your Peace, solid stuff. And then Hot Love would work pretty well as an opening track too, but I do think Hello Kitties is the definitive opening track. The way it comes with those drums and the riff and the lead guitar part. Oh, it's just classic stuff. And I
Hmm.
mean, I think if there's one thing I would say about the production on this album that I did notice is that some of the vocals come off a little muffled once in a while in here. It's not a big deal. It's in certain words that Robin says they kind of don't really resonate the same as some of the other stuff, but it's
Hmm.
such a small little flaw. And like I said, the guitar sound and the drums themselves make up for that completely, and the bass as well. I mean, it's just a great sounding album.
Yeah,
There's really,
you know what's funny though? It wasn't until Heaven Tonight that Tom Peterson got his 12-string bass. On
yeah,
this and in color he was playing the Thunderbird. But if you wouldn't believe that it's not a 12-string bass. I mean, it's such a thunderous full sound. It's amazing, you
absolutely.
know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he has such a great sound on here, great bass playing throughout. I really think this is a well balanced album between the guitars, the high, like the trebles and the low tones. It's just a beautiful sounding record. I think probably one of the best sounding of the 70s for me personally. I mean, outside of like your Dark Side of the Moons and shit, but like I think this is more impressive with its production because Dark Side, I mean, it's a lot of slower songs and stuff. This is hard rocking stuff and it still sounds so great. So I think that's really a testament to Jack Douglas and how great he did with this band and just how great the band sounded too. I mean, they sound hungry on this record. They sound energetic. It's like a beautiful little time capsule there. Because I wouldn't say that the band ever sounds quite like this album again. Not to say that there's a lot of amazing content that's about to come out, but they had a very unique sound on this record, and I love it. If I was going to rate this album, I would give it a 10 out of 10. It's a no-brainer for me. I mean, like I said, it's one of my favorite albums of all time. Definitely one of my favorite albums of the 70s, my favorite album in 1977. Um, and I'm going to like reserve calling it my favorite Cheap Trick record for now, just because we're going to be going through all these records and I want to give a fair listen to everything. But I would not be surprised if it turns out my favorite record by the end of this series.
Yeah, because what we'll do at the end of the whole thing, well, we'll do it as we keep going. We'll rate them as we rank them as we go, but we'll rank them all at the end because Lord knows how long this is going to take us to get through the catalog. But you know, we'll do a video a month or something, and we'll just do it. But yeah, it's easily a 5-star record.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
I mean, I feel like it would be offensive for me to give it any lower. And I think critics pretty consistently are like 5 stars with this record as well. It's a highly regarded record and deservedly so. I mean, it blows my mind every time I listen to it. I find new things in it every single time. And it is really the band that, it is really the album that made me fall in love with Cheap Trick. Even more so than Budokan. Like, this one just really blew my mind.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What was the first record I heard? It probably was Budokan. That's where a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I loved them. God, it must have been Budokan. It's probably the first thing that I heard.
Yeah, well, you were kind of mentioning it. Like, they kind of had a little surge of popularity there with Live at Budokan. But, you know, I've talked to other people who were fans of the band in real time, and based from what they told me, even after Live at Budokan, after The Flame, they were mostly playing pretty small shows and stuff. Like, they really didn't make it big until that song came out, which is really intriguing to me because, like, I think especially albums, you know, as we go on throughout the late 70s and early 80s, have so many hit-worthy songs on them. So it really kind of surprises me that that was the case. And there's stuff on here that I could kind of see getting big. I mean, this is a weird album because I think there is some accessible stuff on it. Like, I think Hello Kitties is a really fun song. It could be kind of hit worthy, but there is a lot of dark stuff on here. There's a lot of really raw stuff. So I could see maybe why this album as a whole wasn't like a huge commercial success at the time. But looking back on it, I mean, damn, this is just perfect stuff.
Yep. I can't disagree with any of that.
Yeah.
Anything else to add? You want me to go for it?
I mean, are we like ranking the tracks or anything, or do you want to do that?
To be quite honest, Ryan, I don't think it's possible to rank the tracks on here.
I agree.
It's a perfect record. I'm sorry. It's perfect.
I think all the songs are about equally as
They're
great
all
as each
equal.
other too.
It's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. Well, let me go into my spiel. Like Ryan said, I just want to do a little bit of throw some graphics in here. This album was released February 3rd of 77. And like Ryan said, Jack Douglas produced it. And, you know, over the years, he collaborated with the band quite a bit. Standing on the Edge, Budokan, he, you know, always had his hand in Cheap Trick to some degree. One of the best things I ever heard is that they produced a lot of demos. After Tom Peterson left, they did a lot of demos that they were going to release. And if that is not a solid album, I wish all those demos, they'd put them out legit. Some of them are still out there. We may talk about that down the line. But this album, it only went to 207. It never even hit the Billboard 200. And it only hit 207 for 1 week in 1977. And I know I like to throw the Rolling Stone record guide here, so we're just going to throw them out. They gave this record a 4-star review. I personally think this is definitely a 5-star review from me. There is not a weak track on it. What can I say? The only single that they released of it was "Oh Candy" in 1977, and it's just a phenomenal track. I mean, what can you say? Does any modern band sound like Cheap Trick? I would say no, Ernesto. I'm going to say no with that.
No.
And like Ryan said, a lot of these tracks are more raw, I guess. And it's a great Jack Douglas production, probably one of his best. It's right up there with the Aerosmith productions.
Honestly, I think I probably like it more than a lot of the
Oh.
Aerosmith
Oh.
productions.
Oh, I can't believe you'd say that.
I'm not saying I like the album more than Aerosmith, but I think the sound on this album is some of the greatest that he's ever gotten.
As far as the tracks go, well, some of the other reviews, All Music gave it 5 stars. Robert Christgau gave it a B. So that's good for Robert Christgau. Trouser Press was positive. Spin gave it a 10 out of 10. It's a flawless record, 5 out of 5. Hot Love's a great track. Speak Now and Forever Hold Your Peace is a Terry Reid song. Have you ever heard the Terry Reid version of that, Ryan?
I haven't.
It's heavy. You know, Terry Reid was up to being the lead singer for Led Zeppelin. He was up for that.
Really?
Yeah. He didn't get it, but he's a phenomenal vocalist. Check out Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Peace by Terry Reid. It's probably on Spotify, but check it out. Cheap Trick loved Terry Reid. They thought he was great.
Check that out.
He's a Whore, wonderful. Mandocello. There's not a bad song on here. Ballad of TV Violence, I'm Not the Only Boy. Hello Kitties. Daddy Should Have Stayed in High School. See, they even have on. I'm looking at the track listing that's up on Wikipedia, and it's wrong. It's just funny. Taxman, Cry, 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 Oh Candy is just great. In the 1999 reissue CD, Cheap Trick, my favorite song by Cheap Trick, if we ever would rank it, my number one song is Lookout, which came out on Budokan. And that was an outtake from the first album. Why that never made it to the first album, maybe it's not quite as hard. Maybe Lookout would have fit better on In Color. But the fact that the studio version, it took them all those years to put that out, till 1998. I know it's the bonus track on here, but that is definitely my favorite track. If it was ever on an album, this is the album it should have been on. 5 stars, Billboard 207. It didn't, I mean, I don't know if this thing ever went platinum. I don't have that information. I would imagine that it probably would have hit platinum. By the time Dream Police hit and Budokan, a lot of those records started to really sell. But if anything, this is probably one of their greatest albums. But I like a lot of their albums just as much as this. So I'm going to give this a 5-star review. There's nothing weak on it. I'm going with what you're saying, Ryan. I agree with all your points 100%. What can I add? I can't add anything to it. It's just great.
Definitely.
Since I have the graphic, I'm going to pop it up. Let's move on to In Color. In Color also was released in 77. In fact, it came out in September. So they did 2 albums the same year, which is not surprising because back in the 60s and the 70s, bands used to crank material out. So This was released in 77. It was the first one released by Tom Werman. In the power pop genre, though, this is considered a power pop masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
It would rank number 4 on the Shake Some Action, the ultimate power pop guide. In 2003, the album was also ranked number 443 on the Rolling Stone magazine's top 500 greatest albums of all time. I think it should be higher along with the first album, but whatever. As long as it's listed, I'm good with that. Rolling Stone Album Guide also gave this a 4-star record. Does this sound different than the first album? Yeah, because Tom Werman wanted to present them in more of a not so hard, more of a pop kind of music vein. But I think it's just as strong. Ryan, what's your take on this record?
Okay. So definitely a different album from the first one for sure. It kind of has a little more of like a early arena rock type of sound. I think especially on songs like the opening track, Hello There, it kind of has like that, like you're in an arena, beginning of a concert type of feel to it. Obviously, they ended up doing that with Budokan. I feel like it was a song that was kind of made for live. I think the band sounds more melodic here. I think some of Robin's vocal performances are a bit more over the top than on the first record. The guitars sound bigger on here. I think Rick has some even crazier guitar parts, like on like You're All Talk or Clock Strikes 10 and stuff like that. There's some really great guitar parts on those songs. And I mean, overall, I think that there's still some heavy tracks on here, but I'd say it's a bit lighter of an album than the first one, a bit more fun as well. In the past, I had some issues with Tom Werman's production on here. Listening to it a few times in recently again, I don't really have an issue with the sound on the album. I actually think it has a really solid tone, or solid sound. I mean, I think that you get a really good bass sound on here from Tom. I think the drums have a couple moments where they're a little bit but for the most part, they sound really good. I think the guitars sound amazing on here, almost as good, if not as good, as on the first album, which is a compliment for sure. But I think that sound-wise, like I said, it's fantastic. I think most of the songs on here are really, really amazing. There's a couple I would say aren't as quite as good as the others, but I'd say for the most part it's a damn great album. If I had to give my rating before I really go through things, I'd probably say this is like an 8.5 out of 10. If I'm going to give the first one a 10 out of 10, I don't think it's as good as the debut record at all. I think it's a really enjoyable album, and I think that it's a very solid follow-up to that debut record. But as I said, like, you kind of never get the same sound exactly as on that first album. We'll talk more about albums that I do like more than this one in the future. But I think, like I said, for second album, it's really solid. I mean, you got Hello There, which is a classic. Big Eyes, which is one of my favorite tracks by Cheap Trick. I think the riff on there is awesome. Robin sounds amazing. It's just a super melodic and heavy rock track with a good pop sense to it. Downed is a really great track. The version of I Want You to Want Me on here, I used to have issues with it, but listening to it again, I actually started to enjoy this version quite a bit too. I wouldn't say it's as quite as iconic as the live version on Budokan. I mean, that one was like the first burst of fame for the band for a reason. But I think this is an endearing version. It's a bit more low key, slower, poppier sounding version, but I like it a lot. You're All Talk is a fantastic track. I shared that one on my Facebook earlier because I think that's a really awesome song. It
Mm-hmm.
rocks hard. It's got a good groove to it. I'd say it's like probably the funkiest Cheap Trick song we've heard so far. Oh Caroline's really great. So is Clock Strikes 10. Um, Southern Girls is pretty solid. I'd say the last two tracks are probably my two least favorites on the album. Come On, and So Good to See You. I still think they're really good songs, but they don't hold up quite as well for me as the rest of the album. Um, but like I said, this is really solid. Also, a really great album cover. I think it's one of my favorite of Cheap Trick's album covers, personally. Um, I think Tom Werman did a good job on it. I've been a little hard on him before, but his sound's growing on me on here. Got a cool gatefold too. It's very late 70s power pop
It's a
there.
great photo, though.
Oh, it is. I love it. Um, like I said, everybody sounds really good on this album. Um, I'd say the songs are pretty solid. I don't think they're quite as great, or not all of them are quite as great as the first album's tracks, but really amazing album. 8.5 out of 10, or
Whoa.
4.25 out of 5.
Wow. Well, I I can't argue with that. That's a great rating. Me though, I'm giving this a 5 out of 5 because I love it just as much as the debut. It's just different. The thing is, it's just funny because I'm not sure why In Color couldn't sound like the sound quality that we got on the first album. I mean, Jay Messina was the engineer on this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure where they recorded this. I don't remember. I think they recorded this out in California, I think. But
Hmm.
I don't know. It just has maybe it needs remixed. I don't know. But I don't think it takes away anything from the songs.
No, I don't either.
I think the sound quality is fine. I think, Heaven Tonight and Dream Police, as far as the Warman production, sound way better. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think Heaven Tonight and Dream Police basically sound the same.
Mm-hmm.
But this is fine. This doesn't bother me. I know the band wasn't all that crazy about the sound of it. Because didn't they re-record this with, what's his name? Oh, I hate it when I can't think. Anyway,
They did something.
They did something. They re-recorded it. They never put it out though. I don't think it was necessary. I think this album's just great as it is. I mean, Robert Christgau gave it a B plus. He gave it a higher rating than the first one. All Music gave it a 4.5. Rolling Stone Album Guide, like I said before, gave it a 4. It's a great record.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, there's Big Eyes, Drown. The one other thing I just want to say about this record is that it's perfectly sequenced. But the thing is, with the sequencing, there's not anything that's. You probably could rearrange this album and it would be just as strong.
Mm-hmm.
If you get like the 98 reissue, they've got some bonus tracks which are incredible, but one bonus track I want to talk about, which I wish this would have been on there, is the version of Oh Boy, which is an instrumental track. That was the B-side of, I think, I Want You to Want Me. So they recorded the song, Oh Boy. Later, when they did the demo thing that I talked about, I think that must have been 1980, I think, with Jack Douglas, they recorded a version of it with vocals. Now, there was a CD set called Cheap Trick, the Epic Archive. They did 3 volumes of it. On volume, I don't know if it was on 1 or 2, but that song, Oh Boy, that should have been on In Color, and it's a crime that it never was. They do the vocal versions on there, and it's absolutely brilliant. It should have been on In Color. Why it but wasn't, why that really never had an official release until the Epic Archive, in like 2017, I have no idea. Well, I did take it back. It was on the flip side of I Want You to Want Me, but what a great track. So,
Mhm.
anybody watching this, go and check out the song Oh Boy and report in because that's a great freaking track. But all the bonus tracks are good. You get some demos. You get Your All Talk, Live at the Whiskey in 77, and Good Night from the Whiskey. Those two tracks did come out on the Record Store Day release a couple years ago on vinyl, and you could get the download. When they played the Whiskey in 77, holy crap, were they on fire. So I recommend everyone to look at that. I went on a rant, but I've been going on rants lately, Ryan. You got to reel me in. This record, I give it a 5 stars. I don't. There's not one song track that's weak. Does the production is the production not quite as great as what was on the first record? No, but I don't know why. You think that uh, I'm not even going to analyze it. Screw it. It's a great record. It doesn't matter. Production doesn't hurt it at all.
I think that Tom Werman and Jack Douglas just have a different vision and different sound.
Yeah, I guess. I
But
got.
I
Go
really
ahead.
don't think that the production's bad on here at all. I used to have more issues with it, but the more I listen to the album, it sounds pretty good for the most part.
The more you listen to it, Ryan, the more you'll like it.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely.
are you familiar with the song "Oh Boy"?
I am.
Okay, it's great.
It's a great
I
one.
love it. I wish it was on here. We got some comments. Let's pop some comments up while we're here. Oh yeah, we already saw that. No other modern band sounds like Cheap Trick, Ernesto. No way.
I bet a lot have taken
Oh, Steve
influence from.
Albini. That's who produced it. And it's just weird, you would think they go to the extent with getting Steve Albini in there to produce and re-record in color, and they wouldn't put it out. Does anybody know why they didn't release it? I
I
know you
thought
can
they.
find it. You can find it up on YouTube, and I'm sure
Mhm.
it's a bootleg. And like I said before in the Beach Boys discussion from earlier, I'm not promoting bootlegs. Though this is a great bootleg, and this is a great bootleg. Just joking, kids. But do we know why that never came out? Does anybody know? He was the producer, yeah. He engineered it. But why did it not come out? Beambolt. I feel like the album is very dark and the second is much lighter. I agree. Seems like Heaven Tonight and at Budokan, they found the secret sweet spot between the first two albums. But what do I know? Well, you know a lot because Heaven Tonight's my favorite album. I don't know where Ryan. Well, that's for a later episode. But all right, it is my favorite Cheap Trick album. I will just say that.
I
But
love Heaven Tonight.
it is it is the perfect. You're right. It's the perfect combination of the first album and in color. I agree with you 100%.
I
100%.
think it. I think it even progressed beyond both of those too. It's a great combination of both of those
Yeah.
albums, and then it added even more to the table of who Cheap Trick is. It's one of my favorite albums by them too. I'm gonna leave the actual ranking until we get a bit further in, but I think it's leaps and bounds better than In Color.
Yeah. Well, there you are.
Yeah.
Ernesto, what do you guys think about Rod Stewart touring Cheap Trick in 2022? Um, well, is Rod going to be singing the American standards? I don't know. It depends upon what Rod's doing, I guess. But
Yeah.
Cheap Trick will tour with anybody. These guys are a working band. They'll do whatever they have to do to tour. They're kind of probably tour until they drop dead, is what I'm going to imagine. But
Yeah,
I mean, if they're touring with Rod, I think that's fine.
I'm fine with that. I
I
don't I don't hate Rod Stewart. Like
I
I
mean, I
don't
don't
love
know what
him.
Rod's pushing right now. I don't know.
I honestly have not listened to really anything of his stuff past like the 70s, so I couldn't even tell you what he's doing now, but I don't mind that.
I don't mind it. Chris Stokes. Hey, Chris, how are you? Listening to Oh Boy live at the Whiskey, West Hollywood, 1977. It's awesome. That's right. They do Oh Boy live on there. Because Oh Boy was part of their live set back in the day. You know, once they started hitting big, they dropped it. But I think it's a great track. Great track. He's going to need some oxygen. Who, Rod?
I think so.
Ernesto, why do you say that Rod's going to need some O2? Come on. You know, Rod's a professional, for crying out loud. I think Rod still plays soccer regularly. Don't quote me, but he might.
Yeah. I think he
But
got his shit together when he needed to.
Ryan, have you ever heard the live at the Whiskey set?
I believe I
The
have.
record store day that it came out? I've got the record. I should have pulled it.
I haven't
But
heard the record, but I've heard some of the stuff on Spotify and stuff.
I'm not a professional. You know, I should have pulled it, but I don't know. Maybe in post I'll pop it up there. Ernesta says yes. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Because he's old as hell. Now, Ernesto, come on, man. Don't dog Rod. Come on. How old is Rod? 80 yet? No, he's not 80, is he?
Uh
Come on, Ryan.
we
How old's Rod?
I'm looking right now. Like I said, I'm not like a die-hard Rod Stewart guy. I
No.
like some of his stuff a lot. 77.
Okay. Well,
I mean, come on, we can get Rand on YouTube. He can get on stage without oxygen.
right. Rand can do a discussion without oxygen. So
Yeah,
why can't Rod?
exactly.
Who else? Has anybody else out there heard that Whiskey A Go Go show? They also put out another show for Record Store Day. Was a concert from '79, which is also great. Now the other thing is, you know, Kiss has that from the soundboard series. Why couldn't Cheap Trick do something like that? Think about. I remember back in the day they did. What was one of the great things? Did you ever see the concert from '81 where they're playing in Chicago, and Pete Comita is playing bass, and they do that song from Heavy Metal?
I don't think I've seen that.
Check it out. It's on YouTube. In 1981, it was after Tom Peterson left, and Pete was playing bass for him, only for a short, brief period of time.
Hmm.
But what a great concert. In fact, my friend Beth, she was there in '81 for that show. It was like in Chicago on the pier. She was there for that. It's amazing she could remember anything from it, but she was there. Rod was good until about 1980. Well,
I think that
I
was.
think, I don't know. What came out in 1980? Hot Legs?
Well, I think he did. Do you think I'm sexy in '79?
I like Do You Think I'm Sexy, though.
I do
think that's
too.
okay.
I think it's solid
That was his last hurrah.
for sure. I don't know anything he did past that song. I like the stuff before. I like the stuff with the faces. I like that song. That's about as much as I know of Rod Stewart.
Or
He's just
does, well, go ahead. But well, I was going to ask the people out there in YouTube land and Facebook land, are Cheap Trick and Rod Stewart touring right now together? I don't have that information in front of me. Are they out on
I
tour
don't.
right now? Has anybody seen it? I don't know. I'd like to know.
Yeah.
Oh, being Foolish Behavior was a good album. You should do an episode just talking about Cheap Trick's soundtrack songs. Ryan,
That's
we
a good
could do
idea.
that.
Yeah.
Being Bolt he probably could wrap that stuff with us too.
Oh,
It's
for
a good
sure.
idea. I'm taking that in consideration. Rod sang 21 songs at the Hollywood Bowl. I don't know what that means. Ryan, what does that mean? What is Ernesto talking about? Yes.
Maybe that.
Yes, they are on tour. I didn't. He just read about it. Yeah. Well, usually when Cheap Trick comes around, I always go. Now, the times that I don't go, the last time I saw them, though, was when they were playing the State Fair in Columbus, Ohio. And so they were out touring with Peter Frampton. And Peter Frampton opened the show. Ryan, have you ever seen Peter Frampton? When you could.
No.
Now you can't see him anymore. Holy mackerel. If any guitar players watching this, Peter Frampton is absolutely stunning as a guitar player. But he opened the show this particular night. It was absolutely phenomenal.
I believe it. I like
He
Peter
is
Frampton.
one of my favorite guitar players. I mean, he's all his solos. I know we're going off track, but who cares? What the hell? It's our show. Screw it. He's very fluid, and all his guitar parts are very well thought out, and his tone, absolutely wonderful. But he opened the show. It was absolutely wonderful, and Cheap Trick was top notch that night, and we were right up front watching it. That was my birthday present. We went and saw that.
That's awesome.
It was wonderful. But Ernesto, they played at the Hollywood Bowl.
I think Cheap Trick.
Yeah. Well, someone played the Hollywood Bowl. The first show is at the Bowl. Okay. Rod and Cheap Trick in Cincinnati, July 12th. Where are they playing in Cincinnati? I bet if it's with Rod, it's probably somewhere fairly big.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of those old people, they like Rod. Those old women. No offense. Not trying to offend. And we want to be gender sensitive. Old individuals really like Rod.
I bet Rand likes. Nope.
Oh, Rand loves Rod. Where is Rand? He should make a comment. I'm sure Rand loves Rod.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. Oh, I just read the set list. Okay. Oh, Riverbend. So if they're playing Riverbend in Cincinnati, that's a big outdoor. It's kind of like Blossom Music Center up in over by Mansfield up in Ohio. You've been to Blossom. Riverbend's like Blossom. It's like the Polaris Amphitheater before they tore it down. Asshole people.
Blossom's right by Blossom's by Cuyahoga Falls.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
I mean, it's up that way.
Yeah. I haven't been there in a few years. Love it down there, though.
Chris, my first time hearing man, Cheap Trick sound is so good at this Whiskey show. It is. I recommend, I don't know if you can stream it. I know the record came out for Record Store Day, and it came with a digital download. I listen to my digital download because it's part of it, But it's phenomenal. Yeah. Go out and listen to Cheap Trick at the Whiskey. Do yourself a favor. Because during 1977, they were top of their game. And you hear a lot of tracks that they don't play anymore. It's freaking awesome. Soccer moms. That's right. Soccer moms like Rod. That's yeah. And we love soccer moms. And I'm not going to put up the other comment that Ernesto said because we're politically correct on this.
But I am going to start listening to some Rod Stewart now that I know that.
We are going to check out some Rod Stewart. We're going to, in fact, Ryan and I are going to do a whole Rod Stewart series. Look for that on Rand's channel. He'll
Yep,
definitely do a Rod series, I'm sure.
definitely. And he'll sing
Um,
along to all the songs too.
yeah. Well, anybody out in the chat, do you have anything else to add? It's about 9:18 p.m. here in beautiful Central Ohio. I don't really have much more to add. To me, these are both 5-star records. He did a cover of Blondie Call Me. Oh, who did? Rod? Jeez. Rod? Doing Blondie? I don't know. I don't know, kids. I'm not sure what to think of it. I don't know. But it
I
wouldn't
don't
put it
even want
past
to.
him. Yeah, I don't want to
I
know.
really don't want to hear it.
I don't want to hear it either. I don't have anything more to add. 5 stars for both records.
Oh
The
yeah.
next episode, we'll look at Heaven Tonight and Dream Police. Holy mackerel, that's going to be a good one.
Oh yeah.
Ernesto, he says, yeah, he's playing it. That's amazing. So Ryan, remind me, what was your ratings again? You gave
Cheap Trick is a 5,
5.
and
Okay.
then In Color is a 4.25.
I mean, Ryan's rating In Color a little low, but I'm not going to give him any shit about this since he's sitting next to me. So I'm not going to give him shit in front of his face, but I'll put comments down later and rub his nose in it. No, it's all fine. It's a great record. And Ernesto
Definitely.
can't wait for our next show. Ernesto, I like you because you're very supportive and you chime in. We need
Definitely.
more people like you.
Absolutely. We
I
got a lot
love
of good people in the
Ernesto.
comments today.
We do. I love this. This going live thing's always a blast.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I have anything more to add unless someone has anything else. If anybody in the comments has any questions about anything, because Ryan and I are very knowledgeable on Cheap Trick and maybe could answer any of your questions. So I'll give it a couple more minutes, but I don't think I have anything more to add about these records.
Yeah, neither do I. I mean, other than just like, please check them out if you haven't.
Don't forget Ernesto is on Tim Derling's channel. He follows Tim. Evidently, Ernesto has like a huge 8-track collection, according to Tim. Am I right, Ernesto? Is it you're into the 8-track scene like Tim is? I do have one story though. Since we're waiting for more comments and we're just shooting the shit, I found on 8-track and I resold it on Discogs. I found an original quadraphonic Cat Stevens CD. Which one? Give me one of the early Cat Stevens quad. Give me a Cat Stevens album.
T for Tillerman?
Yes. I found that on 8-track, an original quadraphonic pressing of it.
Oh,
I
wow.
got it for $1. I turned around and I sold that on Discogs for, I think I sold it for 45 or $50.
That's awesome. That's a great sounding record.
Ernesto, is that a rare 8-track, the quad version of Cat Stevens? I'd say it was. Not as rare as Dark Side of the Moon on 8-track, but the quad version, the quad mix. But
Yeah. Looks like BM Bolt said, have you ever listened to Tom Peterson's solo album? I have not.
hold on to that thought, Ryan. Talk to the people. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, Grant just made a bad decision to leave me alone with the camera because now I'm going to talk a bunch of shit on him. You know, he's a pretty good dude. Rand's a good dude. And Grant's actually a really good dude, and glad to be doing this series. But no, I have not heard Tom Peterson's solo album yet. I will have to check that out. What's the name of that one, BM Bolt? Um, let's see. Ernesto says Pink Floyd on quad is great. I can only imagine. I mean, honestly, Pink Floyd sounds great on a ton of formats. I have a bunch of their vinyl, um, multiple copies of Dark Side actually, and then a bunch of their other albums, and they all sound fantastic. The production on those albums was just magnificent. Um, but that's cool that you are into 8 tracks. I've just been starting to get a lot of cassettes recently, and eventually I'd like to get into 8 tracks as well, because I know a few places that sell them. A couple of my good friends actually sell them at their store, but yeah, right now it's been cassettes and vinyl and CDs. BM Bolt. Yeah, okay, I'll look online for that solo album though, because I'm curious about it as well. I mean, he's an amazing bass player. Let's see. Ernesto says, "Hell yeah! If you got a good system, it makes up for it." I believe it. I've heard I've heard 8 tracks before on good systems, and they sounded really great. I was pretty impressed, honestly. And even with my cassettes right now, I'm impressed with how good they sound. Uh, Ernesto says cassettes are great. They're coming back. Yeah, definitely. I mean, one store I go to in Palmer, Ohio, they have a ton of cassettes. I'm actually gonna head on down there tomorrow, and I'll probably be doing a video on my own channel. It's called Ryan's Vinyl Destination, where I will be talking about the cassettes that I get. It's actually a series called Cassette Treasure Hunts. So make sure to check that out, Ernesto. I'll have some good stuff to show on there.
Well, you guys, I failed you. Yes, I have the Tom Peterson album, and it's questionable. But this is going off track. But you'll like this. If you tune into the next one we do, I will have the Tom Peterson album here. But this is something I have. I know this is the wrong era, but this is Heaven Tonight promo. Look at this dog.
Nice.
Look at this. Look at this. Well, you've all seen that inner sleeve, but look at this, baby. Look at this. White label promo.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Feast
really,
your
really
eyes on
cool.
that, YouTube.
I bet that's worth $1 or $2 these days.
Yeah, I've had this forever. It's dead mint. It's dead mint. And I don't
That's
know. I
great.
got this at, I don't know where I got this. I forget. I've had it forever. But all right, hold on. Oh boy, look at all these comments. Did you?
Oh,
hit
looks
some of
like
these?
yeah, I've
Sound
been
Grant?
talking
Oh,
about
okay.
them.
Okay.
I talked a lot of shit on you while you were gone, Grant.
That's okay. I don't mind. They sound great. I have a few quads. Yeah, most of the 8 tracks. I do have something. Wait a minute, Ernesto. Are you into reel-to-reels by chance? I know we're going off on a tangent, but this is fun. This is something I picked up. Notorious Bird Brothers. Reel-to-reel. Check this out, kids.
Wow,
Yeah. There it is.
that is really cool.
It's got a cutout too. Cutout. I don't know. It has nothing to do with Cheap Trick, but whatever.
Yeah.
They sound great. I have a few quads, yes and no. Yeah. Pink Floyd on quad is great. Can't remember the name. Never heard it myself. Okay. Yeah, because probably a lot of those 8 tracks were all mastered flat. Cassette are great. They're coming back. Well, I've got some cassettes.
Yeah.
I got a lot of cool cassettes that are rare.
I'm just upset today because I got a copy of Slayer's debut on cassette and it broke on me.
Matthew's Sweet Girlfriend cassette.
Nice. Just got that on CD.
Yeah. I got this for $1. Okay. How many tours did Cheap Trick do with Kiss? I don't know, but they toured with them in the 70s. I mean, Cheap Trick and Kiss got along really well. I mean, they had a blast. Yeah, I've got it. Todd, do you have that? Do you have a copy of that? Oh, you never heard it. Okay, I've got it on vinyl. You've got to see the cover. I think it was on Enigma, along with those Devo records. It's all about the same time. But I will have that the next time. I swear to God. Or I wish I could post it somewhere. You know what I'll do? I'll post it on my Facebook page. I don't know. How can I post that? I don't know. We'll look at it in the next video. I'll have it. If you have a good deck, invest in one. A good 8-track deck?
Cassette, I think.
Oh, I've got a cassette deck. I've got a 3 Hedekai. I've got a nice deck. It weighs a ton. It's not Nakamichi level, but it sounds beautiful.
I just got that little Technic spec there, an M7 from 1979.
Did you buy that? I'm assuming you did.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm loving it so far. Like I said, my only misstep so far is that Slayer tape broke on me.
Todd says Heaven Tonight's a $20 and up. It used to be in the dollar bins. I might hold on. Let me get something.
All right, time to talk more shit on Grant again. So, gets up out of his seat too much. Oh, I think he's coming back. All right. Yeah, I mean, Heaven Tonight, I'm trying to think. I got a copy of that one maybe a year ago. I only paid like $6 for it, I think, but I've seen it out recently and it definitely is going for a bit more. And I think that promo that Grant has is for,
Since we're getting all geeky.
Here he goes.
Since we're getting all geeky, this is what's fun. I like reel to reel, but don't have any. Todd, did you ever have a reel to reel? Do you? At one time, when I was a kid, my buddy's dad had a reel to reel system. He had a lot of Elvis reel to reels. I don't know if those are worth anything. No, they're too expensive. Nice to look at. I have friends that aren't. I do not have a copy of Tom's album. Well, if I could only, unless it's in this stack, it could be in this stack. I don't know. I didn't see it. Real nice, but expensive to maintain. Well, this is a Cheap Trick thing. Found all the parts. This was out on Record Store Day a couple years ago. This was $9.99. That's pretty cool. Here's a pic. Here's Found All the Parts. You guys have all seen this. The new disc from back in the day. Bang, Zoom, Crazy Hello, the vinyl version. I don't remember if this was colored vinyl or not. Nah, it's black. Boring black vinyl. Oh, here we go. No cassette deck, yeah. I do have the Fuse album. Shit.
It's a good album.
Where the hell is it? It's in the Fs. Original copy of One on One. Nice. If anybody from Central Ohio knows Buzzard's Nest Records,
that's awesome.
All the Buzzard Nests are gone, long gone, but it's still in the shrink.
I have an original Japanese press of that album.
Oh, this is still sealed. I never opened it. Cheap Trick at Budokan.
Oh, nice.
Vinyl. It's still sealed. I didn't open it.
We just had that in the store recently.
Lap of luxury, kids. Look at these boys on here. Look at that.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this record. I think.
Grant, you shut your volume off.
Oh. I think I've got a white label promo of in color. Oh, look. Okay. Here we go. Here it is. White label.
Nice.
I think it's a white label promo. I can't remember. I haven't looked at it for a while. But let's just look while we're here. Since we're being all geeky. Oh, looky. White label promo, baby. I love it. So you know if it's a white label promo, it's a first pressing, definitely. If you can buy white label promos on vinyl, that's what you should get. Oh, look. And then I've got another Budokan. And it's another. I got two of them. That's another white label promo. I've got two white label promos. Look at that. I don't know if you guys, ever do that. You go out and here's another Budokan. I got another Budokan. How many Budokans does a guy need?
Ernesto, I think I just followed you on Instagram. Let me know if it was your account. If not, I just followed some other random Ernesto Ramos.
First Cheap Trick album on the original orange Epic label. So you know that's a first pressing. I don't know. I'll find it. I got so much to share with the class. Follow me on Instagram. Yeah, I'll try to. If you like. Well, of course, you're one of our bros. I used to have a reel-to-reel deck, but it wasn't very good. I'm looking for a better one, maybe. Well, I've got something for you to play. Nice collection. Thanks, Ernesto. There's more. I've got way more if I can. I should get my shit together, to be quite honest. I have a laser disc, no laser disc, though. I had a laser disc, too. I don't have any of the laser discs anymore, but I did. I had the Cheap Trick one, where they had all their videos compiled. I had that. I probably still have it. Has anyone done a Cheap Trick tribute album? I don't know.
Looking it up. I haven't heard one, but I'm gonna look it up.
Ryan's going to check that out and let the class know what he finds. I don't know.
Yeah, I do see one on here. I don't know any of these bands that are on it, but it's called Dream Tonight, a tribute to Cheap Trick. Looks like it's from like 2003. It's got bands like Loss of Control, America to Mars, BC3, Doug Stapp, Love Injections, Joy Focus, Cheap Chick, Daylight Disc, Pale Blue Dot, The Dream Police, Love Injections, and 22 Down. I don't know any of those groups.
I don't
but
know
might be a cool one. There's also one called Cheap Dream 2. That has like Jamie Lane on it from Warrant.
He's dead.
Phil,
Jamie Lane's wearing a dirt shirt. He is. Dead.
Yeah. Philip
Dead.
Lewis, John Easdale, Gilby Clark, Joe Lesta, Ryan Roxy, Tammy Down, John Karabi, Jizzy Pearl, Kelly Hansen, Mark Torian. So there's stuff
You've
out
heard of
there.
Kelly Hansen.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have. I don't know. I've heard of Kelly Hansen.
I was just listening to Jizzy Pearl the other day.
I don't even know who that is.
That band Love Hate that Martin loves.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
They're all right. I was listening to their debut the other day. It's solid.
Well, since we're winding this dog down, I'm going to promote some stuff. Might as well. Cheapy Bin Finds is one of the series that I'm doing. I'm going through now it's just been all CDs, but We did do that metal one that one night where I went through all those metal records that I bought for $1 in 1999. But that's a series where I go and, go through the bins and look for stuff that's under $2 and share it with the class. But Nick Squire and I are going to do the next one. I need to go out and find some loot, but Nick's going to come on and do that one with me. And heck, if anybody else wants to come on, that'd be good. Could be fun if we just share everything with the class.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's been up, well, it's been up for a while. The Second British Invasion show is up. So if you like the Flock of Seagulls, Culture Club, Thompson Twins, stuff like that, this is the show for you. This thing, I think, went for 2 hours. It was crazy. It was a great discussion. The other thing that just aired today was Reed Little and I did an episode on our favorite Beach Boys, or top 5 tracks. So that's just coming soon, but it's here already. So that was a lot of fun. Reed is just as much of a geek on the Beach Boys as I am. So that was a wonderful discussion. We just had a blast. But what's really important is tomorrow, upcoming live stream. The first Friday night chat is coming up at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. So it's going to kind of be like this, only we have a topic: records you spent way more money on than you'd like to admit. So we're opening it up to anybody. I threw the link out. I'll throw the link out again tomorrow. So if you want to come on, you can come on. If you just want to come on and make comments, it's going to be streaming live on YouTube and Facebook Live. So if you want to check it out, it's going to be a blast. And I don't know how long we're going to wrap, but it'll probably be a rotating cast of characters that you've probably seen here already, or seen on the Contrarians, or seen on Peter Kerr's channel, or on Ryan's channel. God knows what you're going to find tomorrow, but it should be fun. So look forward to that. So we'll be here. So anyway, record you spent way more money on than you'd like to admit, and you've all done it. So I expect you to confess your sins tomorrow night.
Oh, I'm going to have a lot of sins to confess tomorrow.
And the thing is, if you confess them here, you will not be judged. And your soul will be cleansed because you'll, be able to let it out. But other than that, I think we can, I don't think we have any, that's it. We have no more comments. I think we're winding this dog up. It's 9:41 p.m. here in beautiful Central Ohio. I appreciate everybody coming on and making a comment. I appreciate Ryan doing this whole series with me. It's a lot of fun. What can I say? It's going to be, these first albums are easy to review because they're perfect for the most part. When we get to The Doctor, that's going to work. It's where things are really going to start getting fun.
It's like the Aerosmith conversation.
It's like the Aerosmith conversation. But I'm a little bit more passionate about Cheap Trick than I am with Aerosmith. So it's going to be different. Well, anyway, Ryan and I are going to get out of here. I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate everybody coming on. Loved your comments. Ryan, I appreciate you coming on as well. We're going to wrap this dog up and stay on, Ryan, because we'll set up the next Cheap Trick one. We'll talk a little bit.
Okay.
All right. So good night, everybody. We appreciate it. See ya. Bye.
See you.